Just some opening comments. So welcome everyone to our 6th community workshop of CHIP's Equitable Injectable PrEP in LA County initiative entitled Uplifting the Voices of Black and Latino, Latina, MSM and Transgender Women, Experiences with Injectable PrEP. So we're featuring some community members and who will be talking about their experiences with injectable PrEP. And this workshop will be facilitated by Raul Quintero. So we will get started in just one more minute as we let everyone in. Elena, is everyone in?
Yes, a few folks are still joining. We can maybe give it just 20, 30 seconds and then get started.
All right, so it's 2 minutes after 10. Let's go ahead and get started. Once again, I'm Ron Brooks, and today's workshop is entitled Uplifting the Voices of Black and Latino, Latina, MSM and Transgender Women, Experiences with Injectable PrEP. So we will hear from our panelists about their experiences with injectable PrEP. Workshop will be facilitated by Raul Quintero. Next slide. So just a few, here's the agenda for today's workshop. We will review our workshop logistics. We'll provide an introduction to the goals of our long-acting injectable PrEP initiative. Moving forward, we will be using the term injectable PrEP instead of LAI PrEP. This will be followed by our featured panel discussion, and then a facilitated Q&A period, and then an evaluation and closing remarks. We want everyone to stay around to the very end, so we will be raffling off 3 $50 gift cards. So stick around. This may be your lucky day. Next slide. Here we go. So our workshop logistics. So you can select the closed caption option on your Zoom control panel to enable closed captions if that's what you need. We encourage everyone to use the chat function on your Zoom control panel to share your questions for our panel or comments or resources with the group. We will have a dedicated Q&A period. So during the Q&A portion of the discussion, we ask that you use the raise hand function in the reaction section of your Zoom control panel to ask questions aloud via your microphone. If you have any technical issues, please contact Elena Rosenberg-Carlson in the chat. And as a part of this workshop, all participants will be muted during the video section, and then we will enable you to share your questions during the Q&A period. Next slide. So just a little bit about the Equitable Injectable PrEP in LA County initiative. This is supported by an EHE supplement grant that has been awarded from the National Institute of Mental Health to the UCLA Center for HIV Identification, Prevention, and Treatment Services, otherwise known as CHIPS. And the UCLA team consists of myself, Ronald Brooks, as the principal investigator, Dr. Delara Uskup as the policy and access coordinator, Elena Rosenberg-Carlson as our community workshop facilitator, and Omar Nieto as our project coordinator. This workshop is a collaboration between UCLA CHIPS and the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health's Division of HIV and STD programs. Our community partners and supporters include Friends Community Center, Bienestar Human Services, In the Meantime, and the LA County Commission on HIV. So just a little bit of background of why we are implementing this particular initiative. So historically, Black and Latino men who have sex with men and Black and Latina transgender women have lagged behind more privileged and well-resourced white gay male populations in receiving information about the latest innovations in both HIV treatment and prevention. As a result, these populations have not benefited from early adoption of these highly effective HIV innovations. And this has contributed to the disparity in HIV that persists today in these populations. So the goals of this initiative is to address this delay in disseminating information on the latest HIV innovation, in this case, injectable PrEP, to our priority populations of Black and Latino transgender women, and men who have sex with men in Los Angeles County. To do this, we are implementing a series of online community workshops to provide accurate and up-to-date information on injectable PrEP-related topics that are relevant to our priority populations and the providers that serve them. For the few of you who may not know what long-acting injectable PrEP is, it's the medication Apretude as injectable PrEP is the newest HIV prevention option. FDA approved in December of 2021. It is delivered with one injection every 2 months, which is why it's considered long-acting. To start, individuals can opt to try an oral tablets for 28 days or go directly into using the injection. The injection site is the muscle of the buttocks. Next slide. So today's presentation, here are our panelists, and will be facilitated by Raul Quintero. So Raul Quintero has been working in HIV prevention and awareness in Los Angeles for the past 12 years. He currently works as a PrEP navigator for Wesley Health JWCH Institute. His passion for prevention and awareness is inspired by creating spaces where the general public can seek sex-positive education and services with no shame, judgment, or stigma. Welcome, Raul, and take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. I appreciate you for including me on the conversation today, and thank you to UCLA CHIPS for inviting me to be here with you today. I am excited to work with everybody. So just real quick, we're all virtual here, but of course the tension is still high and a little bit of anxiety. So before we start, let's go ahead and start with a big, deep breath to let all of that anxiety and nervousness out. And let's enjoy our conversation today to talk about sex, HIV, PrEP, and injectable PrEP. And I want to say thank you today to our panelists. So I'm going to open up to the floor. Let me go ahead and start off and say thank you so much, Kevin, Jasmine, April, and Rico for joining us. But not to steal anybody's thunder, let me go ahead and start it off. Please briefly introduce yourself, your name, background, and let's just go ahead and start off with name and background, and I'm going to go from there. Let's start off with Miss Jen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jasmine Nikela Creighton. I use glamorous feminine pronouns. I am 55 years old, Black trans person, living here in Los Angeles, California, and I've been sexually active at least 2 lifetimes.
Oh, thank you. Next on our panel, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ms. April Soraya.
Good morning, everyone. My name is April Saravia. My pronouns are she, hers, and hers. I've been working in the HIV prevention field for the past 17 years. I'm from New Orleans. I love working with my community and uplifting my community because the T is always the last one left on the LGBT. So the T is really needed to be taken care of and to be uprise in order for us to continue to thrive.
Thank you so much for that, April. And then Rico, talk to me about you. Unmute.
Hello, my name is Rico Crouch, and I use the pronouns him. I'm a nurse. I've been nursing for maybe about 2 years now. I really love my job. My doctor's office is actually WAS Healthcare, so I'm really around a lot of my gay community and my LGBT community. So I'm very comfortable there, and I'm actually able to, just go somewhere where I know I'm comfortable at, and there's no judge zone there.
Thank you so much for that. And lastly, Kevin, but last but not least, talk to me, Kevin.
For sure. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin. I'm 24 years old. I go by he, him, his. Let's see. I currently go to Santa Monica College, trying to get into an RN program, also trying to be a nurse. Hopefully that happens. But yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. I know it's going to sound woo, but I want to say I honor all of your lived experiences, and I'm happy to be joining with you today. So let's get it started. Here we go. We got 50 minutes to go. Let's go. So for those of you who are on injectable PrEP, talk to me. How did you learn about injectable PrEP? And give me some of that experience. And if you were on pill-based prior, what was it like switching over to injectable PrEP? Let's go ahead and start off. Talk to me, April.
So good. Hello, everyone. So the way I started getting on PrEP, so I grew up, like I said, I'm 49. I grew up in the 80s and I started seeing a lot of people dying of HIV, getting HIV and then getting AIDS and just dying away. Like I have a lot of people that I grew up with, that I was raised with, that are no longer here today. So I'm a former addict, so I did meth for 7 years. And for me, when I used to get high, I used to always think like everyone had HIV, and I think that's one of the reasons why I became so aware of using condoms when I was using, that I didn't get HIV. Because, like I said, most of the people that were out in my time when I was using are almost gone or barely here today. Very few people. And so I always have been a person that likes to use condoms. And then I remember the first time I heard about PrEP, I don't need that. I was like, I'm HIV negative. Why do I need to take an HIV pill? But I don't know if I was, like Jasmine says, I've had sex for over however many, I'm like McDonald's, and I'm not here to see shame, but it's like over a billion serving. So I'm a very active sexual woman. And so a few mornings, I was with this guy, and I don't know, different guys too, of course. And I said, I don't know if the condom broke or what was going on, or if he took off the condom. So I had to go to Kaiser, and Kaiser at that time was giving out PEP. And the first time I remember being at Kaiser, they said, "What's PEP?" They're like, "Yeah, we don't know what PEP is, and I already knew what PEP is because I've been working in the HIV prevention field for so many years. And so I had to educate the doctors and let them know what PEP was. And it took like about an hour and then two, and they finally came back and they gave me PEP. That was the first time. Then a few months later, I don't know, the same thing happened. So I had to go get back on PEP. And on the third time, finally, I said, you know what? I think it's time for me to get on PrEP. Because getting there at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning at the emergency room asking for PEP, I was like, oh, here we go again, asking for PEP again. So I wasn't happy about, having to do that. So I finally decided, because I had stigma saying, why do I need to be on an HIV medication when I'm HIV negative? But that was my way of being naive and ignorant about thinking about how to take care of myself, because I was like, why I use condoms? Why do I need to be on PrEP? And so, but today I have a more knowledgeable experience. I always tell my girls, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's the heat of the moment. You may love the person and you say, I love this guy. And then all of a sudden you just want to have condomless sex. And it's better to be safe than sorry than putting yourself at risk. So that's how I got on PrEP. And then I started taking pills. And then I heard about the injectable PrEP. And so when I heard about the injectable PrEP, and Kaiser doesn't give injectable PrEP, so Kaiser is boo-hoo-hoo for that.
Yeah.
I was working at Men's Health Foundation, and they had a trial where they were doing the injectable PrEP, and that's how I got acquainted to doing the injectable PrEP, which is something that I love because now I don't have to take a daily pill. I just get an injection, and I'm good to go.
Okay, that's great to hear. And like I said, if I thank you so much for sharing that experience, and especially talking about stigma and judgments and how we even our internalized judgments regarding this. And of course, everyone had questions regarding taking a new medication to prevent HIV, right? And I think that's very relevant and valid. If there's one thing I do tell every patient that comes into our offices when they have a sit down with me, is this is a room with no shame, no judgment, no stigma. right? I won't discount how you feel about yourself, right? I'm not here to wag my finger at you. I'm here to help you because our truth is how we can better serve you within this medical industry, particularly as you work to either prevent acquiring HIV or if you're living with HIV and just finding out about it or switching providers. So thank you for that. Miss Jasmine, from our previous conversations, I understand that you're still on pill-based PrEP. Can you talk to me about how you learned about injectable PrEP and how, your experience still using pill-based PrEP and how come you haven't crossed over and converted, I don't want to say converted, but, what's going on in your mind regarding injectable PrEP?
Thank you, Raul, for that question. First, I just want to say it is an honor to be here on this panel with so many amazing community members. I know April for so many years, and actually, April is who I went and spoke to about the injectable PrEP because I remember us having a conversation about her being able to access it, and I was feeling a certain type of way. I told her I was like, I've been going back and forth with Kaiser and them not having it and telling me that it's too expensive for them to get. And I
Okay.
paid good money there. I give
Mm-hmm.
them good money at Kaiser. So I was like, you guys got to figure it out. But I'm going to be honest, I have not taken PrEP. I haven't had sex in a while. Okay, I got to be honest with that too.
Okay.
It's been a couple of minutes. Not that I don't want to, it just hasn't availed itself to me recently. But I am completely for me and the possibility of me being on the injectable PrEP.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, PrEP is still, it's not sexy yet. It's still not sexy because we don't get to be in conversation enough about our sexual desires and habits and just not enough conversation. So people, especially people of color, especially Black people, right? Because we've been used as guinea pigs for so many years, on trial basis. And so we're not running to, get on anybody's medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still, oftentimes people are not familiar with all the side effects, right? You love when you see the commercial, and death is one of the side effects, so people, there's some fear around that, and
Mm-hmm.
rightfully so. So I've been asking for the last maybe year or so if I could get a combo. I just added something to it. But if I was able to get a hormone shot and a PrEP shot, and
Mm-hmm.
now I want the Ozempic shot all together at one time, I mean, that would be ideal because for one, it would take away that thinking, like every time, pills make you remind you there could be something wrong or something could be on the horizon, right? Every time I take a pill, I might take, Dad, take it on time. Oh my God, I forgot to take my pill.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I know they've come up with so many creative ways for when people are actively sexual, like 2-in-1, like, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know how healthy at the end of the day all of this is.
I get that.
Right. And so I'm still astute when it comes to, and I will continue to be astute, but really young in my knowledge about like how this can actually work. But some of the things I hear within community, because I work in my community, right? And so I'm often hearing when I ask the girls, because who I know are sexually active,
Mm-hmm.
well, first are you asking, the guy, whoever you're having sex with, questions
Mm-hmm.
about their sexual background and who they've been engaging with.
Yeah.
And do you really trust that, right? And so it's at the end, it's all about self-preservation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I hear oftentimes in community that certain PrEP pills put weight on girls, so they stop using them, right? Or it makes them feel a certain way. And so I think the more knowledge and more information that is constantly being disseminated throughout our community, and the more that we get to talk and have conversations amongst everybody, like what our desires are, what we like, what our kinks are,
Mm-hmm.
and then constantly bringing into the conversation this other way of prevention,
Yeah.
right? Is I just believe it's just gonna change the landscape. And the reason the injectable PrEP it looks really attractive is you don't have to do the daily pills,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can engage in sex the way you want, and then every couple of months or every 2 or 3 months, you go and get tested again prior to getting your shot. And see, at least you'll know, I believe, you'll know, what your status is consistently on a consistent basis, as opposed to not wanting going to the doctor, getting caught up in lifing,
Yeah.
and, people forget, sometime, but I think a constant, support team, right? And a reminder, J-Lo and Madonna and Beyonce, they all have a glam squad. Well, we need
Yeah.
one too. We need a squad or a team of people that are looking out for us as well.
And I can understand that. And thank you so much for those points, because it's so true, right? When you talk to medical mistrust, right? I mean, particularly, the African and Black community has experienced so much historically, right? Medical racism, right? And not being listened to by the doctors, either considered, their documentation is there, the research is there. We've, seen it. We hear anecdotal experiences where people are considered attitudinal or loud or rude because they're trying to express themselves, or medical providers have overlooked what they've been telling them, right? It's all there, and particularly in regards to who you're talking to and what's going on in their sex lives. Because as I said, yes, there's trauma-informed care. There's all kinds of different care. I'm a pleasure-based educator, right? And sometimes some people's pleasures might be a lower possibility. I don't like to use the word risk. They might have a lower possibility of acquiring HIV compared to some other play, or if somebody's a working girl, right, or a sex worker, compared to someone who's, in the mainstream and CEO, but that don't mean that those girls aren't sitting there getting freaky themselves in their bedroom, right? But once again, you have hormone shots. You got to take care of your kidneys, because where is the medication and the hormones being processed, right? You got to see your endocrinologist. Is the pill putting weight on you? All, or is it taking away, or is it dropping weight, right? Or also, especially in regards to injectable PrEP, because for the girls whose bodies are modified, right, we also have to compare, we have to take that into consideration where the injection is gone, because it has to go in the glue. So thank you so much for that.
Raul, one last thing.
Yeah.
But it's not financially
And that too.
yeah, like what is the word? I can't think of the word I want to use, but we can't afford it.
Yes.
Oftentimes, it's like, where we get the money, like who is batting for us, like who's coming in community saying, look, we got it for you at either for free or at such a low discount rate, it makes sense for us to go and do the research and go out and get it, right?
Yeah.
But if you have all these I don't know, all these issues prior to you, it's not attractive. I'm not interested in going to, anyone to access any of this if I can't afford it. If no one's willing to really have real in-depth conversation with me about how it's going to function in my body, and yeah, and basically, why should I even, engage with this process in the first place?
I understand that. And, going back to the glam squad, right? These are all topics I'm writing notes right now, because I'm going to circle back to those topics. Particularly because, because I'm leaving Mr. Rico and Mr. Kevin out of this conversation, but we're going to touch on those in a couple of questions, because I believe that we have some thoughts on that in regards to who out there has PrEP navigation out there, who's hiring the girls, or who's hiring our trans men, trans masks, right, or non-binary individuals to talk to people on a level that they understand, right, to be able to relate to that. And we'll talk about that in a bit. As we move into reasons for using injectable PrEP, Rico, we've talked about, the Black community's medical mistrust regarding taking new medications. And we know in Los Angeles that Black men who have sex with men, same gender loving, whether they be bi, gay, out, however they identify, are some of the lowest individuals who are acquiring PrEP, particularly injectable PrEP. So talk to me about your experiences in regards to using injectable PrEP, and how, what turned you on to it?
Okay, so I had a scare with someone. They had took me to the doctor. So I started going to the doctor's office, and then I met someone after that, and we didn't really discuss anything prior to, having our activities. I ended up discussing it afterwards, asking him about like his, if he had anything and he said everything was clear, and then he decided to let me know that he was positive. I luckily that day I had a doctor's appointment with my doctor's office. So I went, I let them know what was going on, and they introduced me to PrEP, which was the pills at the time. When I started the pills, I was a little iffy with it for sure because I wasn't used to taking pills because just like when it goes back to what Jasmine say, I didn't really trust it. I wasn't used to having to take pills for anything because even though I was sexually active, I wasn't that sexually active. So I didn't feel like it was a must for me. So when I started doing the pills, it took me a while to like take them. Even when my doctor would ask me, I would let him know like it's just a hard process for me because I don't know how to trust it. I don't know all the side effects, what's the long-term process.
Yeah.
So, and I've never had to like take anything just all the time, on a daily basis. So just to get used to that was new for me. Um, Luckily, as I went through that process, the scare, I didn't, end up getting HIV or anything, but I still had ongoing just bad history with the pilling, like just keeping up with taking the pilling, staying on it every day. And so when my doctor introduced me to the injectable PrEP, I was like, was a little iffy, but it was different. He was basically telling me, it was just a shot. It would be every 2 months. I could still come in and get tested if I wanted to, still come in early, checking for HIV testing. And even when you do the injectable PrEP, they test you every time. So even if you do end up where like, they say we have our barriers or like our periods, if you miss anything, as long as it's not for too long, you'll still be okay. If you go too long, you could put yourself at risk. So I ended up having to learn about that after a while, but the process for me in general has been okay. I got used to the needles because I wasn't really a needle person. So it took me a while to get used to that. I always tense up when I get the shot. So I have like a little pain for a few days. That's like the most thing for me. Anything besides that, I'll be okay. And for me, I've been fine. I ended up having another scare with someone that I was like dating, and luckily I was on PrEP at the time, so I was okay. They end up finding out that they had it, and luckily, I was taking my PrEP, so I was okay. So it has its pros and cons. As long as you learn more about it and you take your time to do the research, you'll figure it out. I still, have my scare moments, but in general, it's been good for me because I know that it's actually protecting me and it's actually working. Um, it doesn't stop STDs or anything like that, but I know as far as HIV wise, I'm okay. And then every time I go in to do my checkups or my 2 month re-stick, I have to get tested and I have to do everything. I have to do blood draw and just make sure that everything is okay for me to even still be to take injectable PrEP.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can understand that, right? Needles are a big thing for people, right?
Right.
That is an initial fear we do hear with some patients when they come into clinics is, it's a 2-inch needle. And 2 inches ain't much, especially if we're size queen. But, in regards to injections, that could be a deterrent. So thank you so much for that. And then Mr. Kevin, please talk to me. I do, if I may, give a little background. At our clinic, actually, the largest population at Wesley Health Centers in regards to acquiring injectable PrEP are Latino men who have sex with men, whether they be gay, bi, or however they identify. So, and once again, another population within, right? We're talking about the people who need PrEP, right? Today we're talking about trans women. We're talking about Latino, Black, and MSM, Black and Latino MSM, same gender loving, gay, bi, however they may identify. Trans women, both Black and brown, acquiring PrEP in LA, but these are all populations hardly acquiring it. But tell me, as a Latino male, what led you to injectable PrEP?
Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for everyone who shared before me. Um, so the way I kind of got introduced to PrEP was it was this one, I guess, this sexual encounter that I had. It was I was using protection, but I guess the anxiety of not knowing, the sexual history of the person you're kind of like, having intimacy with. And especially
Hmm.
since kind of being new at it, you don't really like ask a lot of questions. You're just like, oh, like fun, like let me try this out. So I did have this scare because, like, I mean, with any sexual encounter, there's going to be fluid involved, and so I was using protection. I got in contact with fluid, and in my mind, I started to have this, like, all these thoughts, like, oh my God, like, what if this person, has an STI? What if they're HIV positive? Kind of like these questions going around in my head.
Hmm.
And so I was like, if I do, if I do have, if I do contract anything, it's better to go get tested and not like wait any longer. So once that like I had that kind of scare, I like immediately went to Watts Healthcare,
Yeah.
because that's usually where I had where my all my I guess all my medical business was. So I was like, all
Yeah.
right, like they have this program here. Let me just go check this out. So then I got introduced to a team. That team was, asking me questions or trying to like kind of like reassure me, like if I do contract, let's say HIV or any kind of STI, it's
Hmm.
totally manageable. It's not the end. And that's what I'm very really grateful about. How much medicine has advanced. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I do don't get me wrong, take into consideration how a lot of marginalized groups tend to be mistreated when it comes to medication. But I do feel like the people who are working with me and who are involved with offering this medication
Hmm.
kind of gave me like a solve. It's like, okay, there's this medicine out here. It does help. I kind of after I kind of had the whole, making sure that I had nothing going on, making sure that I was okay, which I'm very grateful that I am. Kind of doing my own research on what PrEP was and kind of understanding like how this medication works within our body. And so I then got introduced to my PrEP provider who's currently here, Felipe. What's up, Felipe?
Yeah.
He introduced me to PrEP. I was first initially I was on the oral on the pill.
Yeah.
And so I as if I can think about it, I don't think I had any kind of like side effects when taking the pill. When I did research, I saw that sometimes like people would have like diarrhea, nausea, headache. I never
Mhm.
had those symptoms. I was like, cool, I'm grateful that I didn't get those symptoms.
Yeah.
And then again, Felipe then, told me, there's an injectable, PrEP. And I was like, you know what? An injectable PrEP sounds very, very convenient. Because again, like, having the thought of taking a pill every single day was kind of like, it's a little taxing on kind of like your mental health. Because you're like, oh my God, do I have to take it at a specific time? Do I have to take it? Did I forget to take it? And I was very meticulous in that way where I was like, oh my God, I need to take the PrEP at a certain time. If not, I'm not gonna like be, safe and whatnot. And I
Yeah.
actually brought that question to Felipe and I was like, yo, like, does it really matter like the time window of like when I have to take PrEP? And they were like, nah, like you don't have to worry about that. Like as long as you take PrEP when you just take PrEP daily, you should be fine.
Hmm.
So I guess that kind of gave me some reassurance. But again, taking that the injection, which is like what every 2 months, is so much more convenient. Although I mean, I don't think anyone is gonna be a fan of a needle. Like no, it hurts. Needles
Yeah.
hurt. I was like, you know what? I feel like it's just much more convenient just to get the injectable. And so the side effects of that, I didn't really hear anyone mentioning that they had that many side effects. I recently have had some side effects. I
Okay.
was being very cautious to see if it was my own biases. Like, okay, like I've read about what PrEP is and what the possible symptoms are. Are these symptoms being brought up upon like my own bias? Like, oh, because I know that PrEP does this, is it happening because of that? But
Mhm.
no, it's been like I think the two recent ones, there was some soreness, and I think that's normal. Like,
Right.
they tell us like you're gonna be some soreness, but I started to develop very like not lethargic because that's kind of dramatic, but very tired.
Mhm.
And that usually happens a few days after I get the injection, where I'm just like completely like just depleted of energy. And I was trying to think like, have I been sleeping well? Have I not been sleeping well? And I've been sleeping well. It's just the injection kind of takes, I guess, a toll in that aspect where it's just tiredness for like maybe 2 days. And after that, I'm just like, I'm good to go.
Okay.
But yeah, and then this whole panel again was also was introduced by Felipe. They kind of like were like, you know what, there's this thing going on. Like if you want, you can join. And I was like, why not? It's a really cool opportunity to be able to conversate in this kind of conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I think everybody brought up some valid points, right? And not to talk, we're gonna do a little sandwich here. We talked about all the good and everybody's experiences regarding PrEP in our lived experiences, and there has been, discussion of stigma, um, experiences where you've had to access PEP, right? Side effects. So let's move it into some challenges or concerns, right? I mean, Blind, we heard from Jasmine talking about the concerns of medical mistrust, right? Not having a team there who can work with you, particularly Kaiser. Kaiser doesn't have PEP navigators, right? They automatically decline you if you're seeking injectable PrEP, right? You have to have a medical reason now to acquire injectable PrEP at Kaiser, right? Before they switch you off of generic Truvada. Um, experiencing a partner who's acquired HIV while you're taking your PrEP yourself, the lethargy that may come from it, or April's experience is also trying to seek PrEP at Kaiser in regards to injectable PrEP. So let's talk about some challenges. Is there something that, within the community, well, not within the community, but for yourselves, we're going to talk about your personal lives. Is there anything you dislike about using injectable PrEP? April, talk to me.
I love using the injectable prep. To me, it's more convenient. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I just take that injection. The only thing I'm gonna say is like I saw Felipe your question about has the pain from the injection. I get my injections in my stomach, so I don't get them in my Botox. I get them in my stomach, and then I get some nodules, but the nodules like they like tend to with time they disappeared. So I guess that's the body absorbing the prep from your from the stomach, and it's only painful for just like I mean I'm very pain tolerant. I'm not, I don't have any issues or anything. So like for me, it's just getting them in my stomach, and then it's just like you feel like the little bump for like a day or two, and then I forget about it. But it's there. It's like it's gone. The only way I know it's there is if I feel on my stomach, on my abdomen, then that's when I feel the nodules. But other than that, I haven't had any side effects. The pain is tolerable. It's not like I'm going to be like, oh my God, it hurts too much. So yeah, the only thing that I've had issue with is having Kaiser that doesn't, provide that type of program for us to be able to access the injectable prep, which I think it kind of sucks because I think injectable prep should be an option for everyone.
Well, in regards to your challenge acquiring at Kaiser, how may I ask you, how are you acquiring injectable PrEP?
So I worked for Men's Health Foundation for two
Mhm.
years, and I was able to see if I was able to get through them to get my injectable prep. So it was a challenge to get it there.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll touch on I'm going to ask you a little bit more questions in regards to that. So what's it called? Forgive me. Rico, talk to me about what you dislike about injectable PrEP, or what challenges have you experienced?
Um, I think it's just when it's time. Like I said, I tense up when it's time for them to poke me with it. Besides that, I don't really have no side effects. The pain, I have it for maybe about 2, 3 days. It's a little numbness.
Hmm.
But besides that, it's minor, so I end up just getting past it. I don't really have too many bad issues. Like I said, besides the numbness for the little 3 days. Anything else overall is good.
Okay. And then Kevin, you talked to me about the lethargy, right? And thank you,
Yeah.
Rico, for that. I appreciate you. I hope I didn't just cut you off. But Kevin, talk to me outside of, everybody talked to me about their issues in regards to feeling nervous about taking a daily pill, right? Or not being sexually active and taking a break off of taking the pill. As you switched over to injectable PrEP, Kevin, and you talked about a little about how your experience is working with Felipe at Watts Health. But talk to me, what do you just, what are the challenges or things that you dislike about taking injectable PrEP?
Right. I think there are pros and cons, and for me, there are much more pros than there are cons. Again, like if I'm gonna be sexually active and not contracting HIV, I mean, I think that's a pretty huge pro, and it's such a huge achievement, I think, for the queer community to be able to have access to. I find that is very, very fascinating. So that's just a huge pro. There are the small cons, which is, I'm not a very like kind of like a prissy person where like, oh my God, I gotta get injected and it's gonna hurt. And like I'm very tolerant. It's just for some reason this kind of medication does take a toll. I mean, I've never had kind of any I guess issues with any other like injection. Usually when you get injected for like the flu or for like Pfizer, yeah, there's some soreness, but never like anything where like your energy is depleted. So I just find it very interesting how April gets it in her abdominal area with no issue. I find that very, really cool. And then for Rico, they feel numbness with some like pain. For me, it's soreness. Like it's not even numbness. It's like it's the area sore. It's very tender. Um, um, Along with kind of being tired. But those are things that I can like get past through. Like yeah, like it's those side effects suck, but I don't think they're very, very. I don't think they go to the extreme where like, oh my God, like I'm so tired that I can't even move a muscle. It's just sometimes I'm just tired. I don't have like the energy to be as like social, to like really work out. It's just one because of the soreness, two the tiredness. But I think that I very, very much enjoy injectable PrEP because of its convenience. I don't have to like take it every single day, just every 2 months. I gotta go get my checkup. Um, and get my, get the, blood drawn, get, make sure that, everything's all good. And yeah, I think that is just very convenient and I just enjoy that so much more than taking a pill.
Thank you for that. As we touch on challenges, and thank you so much for all of your well thought out responses, everyone. I do want to talk about the challenges, particularly in regard with my friend Jasmine here. As we talked earlier, people's perception is about PrEP is money, right? Money comes to mind. Cost, right? This is, let's be honest here. PrEP itself, generic Truvada, it could be as low as $30. Brand name Truvada used to be $1,800. Descovy, almost $2,000. Apretude can be up to $4,000, retail cost without insurance. Luckily, we live in Los Angeles County, for those of us who do, right? We have the DHSP, Division of HIV and STD programs, Centers of Excellence across Los Angeles who do provide PrEP navigation. Jasmine, you talked to me earlier about, we got glam squads for those for the, for the icons who have the ability to pay for glam squads, right? But sometimes our community members don't have glam squads. They don't have health squads. They don't have somebody on their side walking them through how to navigate, medical care or acquiring it. So talk to me about, the needs that, transgender women, and I'm going to include you in this in a bit, April, but as we talk about Black transgender women seeking injectable PrEP or PrEP services as a whole, what are the benefits? How can we better service them, right? Please tell me, what can we do? And for those who are seeking pill PrEP or injectable PrEP, I mean, today we're talking about injectable PrEP as a whole, right? But as April mentioned earlier, if your body is modified, you can't do it in the glutes. You got to do it in the abdomen. But please give me your thoughts.
Thank you for asking me this question. I always tell people we all need coaching, which can be very masculine, and counseling, a very feminine, softer approach, right? And everyone responds differently to information. But if they made the injectable PrEP as important and as accessible as the hormone, as HRT is and can be, um, I think we would see an uptick in people's interest, right, in using the injectable PrEP. I can't speak to that right now because I have not used it personally,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I know about the pills, right? And um, the pills are just, it can just be a lot, mentally, emotionally, and mentally. And so even though it's necessary that we use all the resources that are available to us,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to self-preservation and protecting ourselves, um, psychologically, it's still um, what do you call it? Covered, or it's still shrouded
Yes.
in negativity, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
sex, stating that our sex is unholy or,
I get
not
that.
right, right? So there's a lot of stigma around our sex. So if there's no one validating you saying your sex is beautiful, your sex is God-given,
Yeah.
however, you want to see it, right? It can be challenging for someone to really want to look out for themselves, right? Or look out for others,
Yeah.
right? And so it's beautiful that April, on a daily basis, and even myself, get an opportunity to really interface with our siblings, right? Our
Yeah.
trans siblings and our families, and really, give them food for thought, right? It's so important that organizations specifically that are going to be providing injectable PrEP really be intentional about hiring. Even if you can't hire them on, you can at least bring them on as paid interns, right? Where you can train them, get them really knowledgeable about how important this is for the community and specifically the community they're navigating in. Can easily access it, its affordability, and why it's so important, right? Um, Sex is a beautiful thing, right? And every time that someone wants to go have sex, they want to know that there's a little freedom in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're free to do this, but what happens is that if you don't have access to this, it's very restricting, and
Yeah.
so your freedom is bound. It is not unbound; it's bound. And then when it's bound, we make risky decisions. I know I have plenty of times,
Yeah.
right? And it does something um, to the whole self, right? Like my whole
Yeah.
person care is in question, right? And so that's why the numbers keep rising in one area, and not because there's a there's an attitude of like, what the fuck, who cares,
Yes.
right? And we want to change that trajectory or that mindset and says, we care, and I know that you care, right? So let's figure out how to take care of our tempo, of
Yes.
ourselves.
And thank you so much for mentioning that. And going back, I love not to make it about me, right? But having done a lot of prep work for the past, ooh, 8 years in LA County, right? Um, Anybody who knows me knows that I've advocated that prep navigators, navigation teams are the core, right? Necessity, need to be on staff, need to be included in budgets, right? Because as you said, we need to hire our communities to advocate to our communities. And thank you so much for the work, both Jasmine and April, that you're doing in the community, advocating for health, advocating of the temple, that our sex is divine, right? That we are no less than because of the sex that we're having or the work that we need to do to survive if sex is included in that, right? And how can we guide whether it be, transgender women, whether it be Black or Latino men who have sex with men, but being there to advocate to people who've been told their whole life your sex is not worthy, right? But yes, you are worthy. You are worthy of your health. And here, let me give you these resources, right? So that you can access that. And I'm going to support you as you do that, right? And with that, we're rounding down. So I have one more, we have a couple thoughts because I still got a couple questions to ask because I have all of but 9 to 10 minutes. But leading to that, April, for your, when you have the girls come in, and I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, Mama, so give it to me quick. Talk to me about the resources you advocate for somebody who might be seeking PrEP, who doesn't have insurance, who doesn't have a means to pay for it.
So one of the things that I always talk to my young girls, because the young generation is the one that needs to be aware of this, like the 18, the 19, the 20, the 24, because like my older generation already knows mostly about PrEP, right? But the young generations is the one that needs to be educated and be told, because a lot of people think just because people are not dying of HIV anymore, HIV doesn't exist, but it's still here and it's still strong. It's not as powerful as it was before because now there's medication that people can live with and live a whole lifetime with HIV with as long as they're adhering to their medication. So for me, drilling that to the youth, talking this to about the girls, because a lot of girls they always say, oh, he loves me, or he's the man, or he's the one. And so one of the things that I've learned working with my community is that when we never get HIV from clients. We get it from our partners, from our loved ones, because that's when we drop our guards down. That's when we stop using condoms. That's when we stop using PrEP, because we say, oh, well, he's going to love me. He's going to be my boyfriend. And that's how I see that most of my sisters get sick through HIV, or not sick, but they get HIV because they trust that and they leave. That's when they finally bring that iron curtain down, and all of a sudden, they get HIV because of their sexual partners. One thing that I want to answer, someone asked me, why do I get it in my abdomen? Is because most of us trans women, we have altered our bodies, so therefore I can't get injections on my Botox, so that's why I have to get it on in my stomach. And another question that someone asked, have I ever missed any of my injections? No, I don't, because I take care of myself and my well-being, and I comes before anybody. So I make sure to take care of my injections, because that to me is going to be me worth me loving myself and taking care of my own health and being an adult and being responsible about taking my well care and my well-being.
Thank you so much for that. And Kevin, I see that you have your hand up. And let me just make note. Yes, I think having resources like Miss Jasmine, Miss April, right out there in the community, informing others, particularly someone who of similar lived experiences, right? How to advocate for your health, how to become autonomous within the healthcare system, right? Learning the healthcare system yourself, right? Because a lot of times or even it doesn't matter the age. Let me tell you, I've seen it. I've seen people of all of age spectrum not know how to advocate that. So I believe having people within the community advocate that and how to navigate that is important. We have about 5 to 7 minutes before we move on to questions, so I'm going to start rounding out. But Kevin, and I will talk about resources in a bit, but Kevin, please talk to me if you have some advocacy in regards to resources to access PrEP.
Yeah, I think that again with like Felipe and his team have been very transparent with the medication and have offered me resources, especially when it also came to like mental health issues. Definitely also have helped me out with that. So they definitely do are very supportive. I think that um a lot of young people are not necessarily taking the medication. I want to say, and so it is very interesting to see, such a somebody who is within that demographic, 24, still in like early 20s, being able to take that medication. I think that, just doing that in and of itself is already, advocacy, for oneself. And, all the work that April and Jasmine, what they do is really, really, really important. And also, to that question of like, has anyone missed an injectable, have missed injectable prep? I actually have. Very busy with school, school, it's very exhausting. And then, having to deal with like personal responsibilities, it just becomes a huge hassle.
Yeah.
So I actually did miss one injection, and I immediately tried to do it as soon as possible to get that injection. And but they pretty much just it's the same thing. You don't have to be on the pill. You just automatically get the injection, and then you also get some blood withdrawn just to see like making sure that everything's a-okay. But yeah, that's my experience at least for missing one appointment for injectable prep. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Rico, I have a question for you, but before I get to Rico, real quick, I was a prep navigator for everyone from the community because we do have plenty of we have plenty of our peers, right, and colleagues within this conversation pointing out resources, and I appreciate that. For our community members who are on this talk right now, let me remind you, you're in the state of California. If you are in the state of California, right, this is help is plentiful. We have the California PrEP Assistance Program if you should not be insured. We have the California PrEP Assistance Program who can act as a third-party payer if you are insured. If you got a lover or someone who manages your insurance plan and you don't, California PrEP Assistance Program will help you with confidentiality issues and cover your PrEP and medical care for you. There is the for injectable PrEP, there's only one brand, Apertude, currently, right? For Vive Connect will cover your medication for no cost to you. So these resources are available to you. And you can look up Get Prep LA or Get Prepared Los Angeles, I believe, or Get Protected LA. Sorry, Get Protected LA to find a DHSP resource center. And for people on Kaiser, advocate to your provider. It's difficult, but please advocate to your provider because Kaiser does help out for people injectable PrEP, but they need a medical reason, so you got to advocate for yourself if you're seeking it and talk to your infectious disease specialist or primary care provider. I see you, Jasmine. I see that question in your eyes.
There's a lot of surveillance and policing. It's like if I tell you I need it, what else do you need?
That's what I'm saying. I get it. Okay, we got 5 minutes before Q&A. And I want to ask everybody, Rico, please talk to me. As a nursing student, right? Tell me what you tell your friends. Do you recommend injectable PrEP to others within your community? Do you advocate it to your sex partners? Tell me, Rico.
Yes, I advocated to my community. I'm a little antisocial, so I talk to people every now and then. So yeah, the few people that I have talked to from the community, yes, we end up having conversations and we end up finding out we're both on it, and I advocated because it's a scare for a lot of people, but it is something that's helpful. And then even like back to what Kevin was saying, there's so much advancement out here with medication at this point. We have stuff for STIs and everything now. So it's like to know that that type of thing is out here to help us keep protected is very, very good to know. And to know that there's different ways to take it and for you to learn your different, educations on them to do it the way you want to is good in both aspects. Either you're doing the injectable or if you're doing the pill. So it's most definitely good to advocate it to the community and advocate it to your partners as well. If your partner doesn't decide to do it, that can still be an okay thing. I've known people who not been on injectable PrEP and have dated people who've been on HIV, but as long as they're taking their medication, they've been okay. I've dealt with people who's been on injectable PrEP and have dealt with people that's had HIV and they've been okay. So it's just all on how you advocate yourself and you take the time to learn your education to know what to do and how to just go there forward to make the right decisions to keep yourself protected.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate those words of wisdom. I have gone over. So at that point, because I had one last question for all of you, but I believe we will have time. But at this point, I'm going to pass it on to my friend Elena, who will be taking questions from the public for all of you. Thank you so much for your time, Miss Jasmine, Miss April, Mr. Kevin, Mr. Rico. I appreciate you for this conversation. God knows I love talking about sex and I love talking about PrEP and HIV, either advocating people living with HIV to maintain their care or people, not living with HIV who are seeking PrEP. I'm a big nerd for this, and I hope we all get to see each other together in person at some point. So thank you for your time. At this point, I'm going to pass it to my friend Elena.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Raul. I really just want to give everyone a huge round of applause for sharing your experiences and your insights. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hopefully you're seeing some of the applause coming from the audience members as well and all of the hearts. So I know folks really, really appreciate what you've shared. We do have some great questions that have already come into the chat. And also I'd like to invite attendees, if you prefer to ask a question through your microphone, you can also raise your hand. If you go down to the reaction panel, you can click the raise hand button and we can give you a chance to unmute and ask your question that way. But let's get started with a few of the initial questions that came in here. April, I think you maybe touched on this already a little bit, but we got a question that says, have you found that the pain from the injection gets better over time? And what do folks do to reduce pain? And is there anything that you would say to kind of advise someone who's considering injectable PrEP as it relates to managing pain and side effects?
So I haven't had any side effects. Like I go about my day. I go to the gym. I actually love working out 6 days a week. So the injection does not take the pain away from me. I mean, the energy from me. The only thing I can say is it's just, beauty is painful. I can say because I've gone through a lot of things to alter myself, my body, and everything. So it's just a prick, it hurts for like a day or two and then it's over. It's just like when you get a vaccine on your arm, it hurts like a day or two and then goes away. It's nothing that I'm going to die from. It's nothing that I'm not going to survive. It's just another injection.
Thanks, April. Any thoughts from our other panelists? Have you done anything, particularly around managing pain, or is there any advice you might give to others about pain or side effect management?
Yeah, I think that usually we're like applying something like a warm towel or taking warm showers that does help. At least me, from my experience, it does help with like easing kind of like easing the pain. But yeah, it's really fascinating how everyone's going to have different experiences taking injectable PrEP. It's really cool to hear that not everyone has very tiring side effects.
Thank you, Kevin. It looks like we have a hand raised from one of our attendees. Araceli, you can go ahead and unmute if you'd like and share your question.
Yes. Hi, thank you everyone for sharing. My name is Araceli. My pronouns are she and her. I am a public health nurse for Orange County's healthcare agency. I am actually someone that will be going to work on starting injectable PrEP in our program and also be providing injectable PrEP. So as someone who is going to be administering the injection, my question would be, what tips would you have for someone like for a nurse, like what comfort words work in your case to make you feel at ease? And then also like what feelings can you share on like what you will be expecting when you receive the injection afterwards and all that, just kind of like what would make it easier for you to hear, like for a nurse to tell you this afterwards or during, you're receiving this injection?
Thank you so much for that question. Kevin, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, I think that definitely when before giving the injection, allowing the patient to know, to understand like it's obviously it's going to be an injection, whether they're getting the buttock, the diamond, it's going to be some pain. to not tense up because that makes the process much more painful. It's going to be a normal reaction because it sometimes happens to me where like I get my injection in the buttocks where they do inject, where most of the times I try to not flex the muscle because it makes it more painful. Usually letting them know, like, inhale and then exhale, kind of like walking them through that process, kind of does help. I think that with any injection, you tell your patient, inhale, exhale, it kind of, I guess, your mind is focused on the breathing and the inhaling and exhaling, where it doesn't really focus too much on the pain. Obviously, you're still gonna feel it, but it's not as intense. So definitely letting them know, try not to tense up because it'll make it a little bit worse. And definitely trying to guide them with the inhale, exhale. Inhale, and then once you like inject them, exhale. You don't want them to pass out. But yeah, I think that that's something that at least helps me every time I get my injection. And maybe that'll also help you out in your journey.
Thank you so much. Any other insights from our panelists about what providers or other folks kind of serving folks who are interested in LAI PrEP might be able to say to offer information and comfort as well? Rico?
Yeah, back to what Kevin was saying, the tensing, because I tense every time, I flex every time. And like I said, I get the little pain for a few days. So like he was saying, the breathe in, breathe out, just going in and letting your patient know what's going on so they feel more comfortable. And like you said, either way it's an injector, it's gonna be injectable, so you're gonna feel a little prick. But just knowing that you're comfortable and knowing that the person that's coming in is going to take care of you, it puts you a little more at ease for sure.
Thank you. Jasmine?
I just have a question. So, what would I say to someone that's unhoused, right, that is engaged in possible sex work, right, that is interested in getting, uh,
May I?
are you there? That is interested in getting the injectable PrEP, right? You can answer, Ro?
Yes. So, I particularly work with youth experiencing homelessness as well as some individuals who are unhoused within my caseload. Um, so working with them, actually, research came out. I don't have the specific study, but research came out that showed that injectable PrEP was actually more successful amongst adults who are unhoused. So for somebody who might be seeking that care, depending on the organization, right, if they can provide wraparound services, hopefully helping with housing, case management as well. But for someone who may be unhoused, letting them know, right, first of all, talking about where, if you don't have communication, where do you hang out? Where can I find you? Where in the city, are you positioned? So that way, at least you know that there's somewhere you can go seek them if your organization allows you to seek them out to bring them into care, right? Letting them know if you have transportation services available for them. If your organization does not, how can we help you with transportation? As you're on this injection, giving them reminders, anything that they could possibly keep on them, and letting them know that there is a window period of time that they can get their injection, right? 7 days before or 7 days after their initial target date, right? And working with them to really just listen and provide whatever services they need. I believe the building a rapport and letting them know that you're more than just a number, right? These are all ways that I work with my team. With my youth, uh, I'm constantly texting them, right? Once a month at least, to find out if they're taking their medications, whether on the pill prep or if they have communication, making sure that I'm contacting them at least a week before their injection, letting them know, hey, we're coming close to your injection time. We need to bring you in soon. How can I assist you? Those are some ways that I at least work with my unhoused population, right? And just once again, giving them the information that is available to them, that you have on board to better serve them, or finding out, asking them their needs. Always ask your patient's needs as well, right? How can I help you? What can I do to keep you successful? Reminding them, I'm not your parent. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Let's work together as a team to take care of you. That's
Yeah,
my
that's
best advice.
excellent. Yeah, my whole thing is like when they, when you're in a conversation, oftentimes they don't know what's available.
I guess
Right. And so when you in going through, you can say, look, these are some choices and some options. You call Raul and Raul will come pick you up and take you to the space or location to get you started immediately. Right.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, the immediacy of it. Because
Yes,
otherwise,
that too.
sometimes people get caught up in these conversations and they got to do all these things and nothing gets done,
Mhm.
right? Because they get lost in systems or they get just lost in general, right? And
Yeah.
when someone is unhoused or don't have access to certain things, they don't sometimes they don't have a phone, right? They
Hmm.
are literally coming into the Trans Wellness Center to access the computer or a phone call. So it's that serious, and knowing that they have a real desire to get this, the immediacy isn't very important as well.
Yes, it is true. And if I may make note, I'm sorry, Lena, not to cut into this conversation. Um, and I know we're talking to community providers, but once again, as you said, some organizations do not have access to provide rapid PrEP, right? I work for an organization where we'll do a rapid test. As long as we have a negative rapid test on file, we have a pharmacy in the lobby of our flagship clinic, right? We have Uber Health. We have a lot of resources to be able to, someone is unhoused and has Medi-Cal, boom, we're going to send we have all medications in-house in our in-house pharmacy, right? To be able to start someone quickly, right, on PrEP before they leave that clinic. So I'm speaking from a place of privilege in regards to the organization that I work for. So, because I understand that not every organization can provide services in that manner where somebody can walk in and leave with PrEP or on their first injection before they leave that office. So that is me speaking from a place of working in an organization that has those privileges and resources available to do for communities we do, right? But that is my best advice as someone who works within that community and population, or it's all of our communities. Who are we serving? We're serving ourselves. We're peers, right? Anyways, let me stop. Elena, back to you because we got 7 minutes for Q&A.
Thank you so much. No, I think, this is a fantastic discussion. And Raul, you also, of course, from your experience, have great insight to share. We do have a few other fantastic questions that have come in. And I want to also, before getting to those questions, just uplift that there are multiple community-based providers in the chat who have shared contact information and resources to get connected with their clinics for folks who might be interested in injectable PrEP or just in, sexual health services in general. And so please do, check out what's happening in the chat, and in the follow-up email from this workshop, we'll also be sure to share those resources with everyone. I did want to go to a great comment and question that came in from Anthony here. This says, Jasmine said something really important, that these efforts around improving health equity for Black and Brown, queer, and trans folks often increase surveillance without really changing our material conditions and hardly resolve issues with access, as it's been outlined by April as well. So how do we better ensure that these efforts around injectable PrEP are more equitable? This is a big question, but would love to hear from our panelists what your thoughts are there. How do we better ensure that these efforts around injectable PrEP are more equitable? Go ahead, Rico.
Like you said, with better advocation, education, letting people know about it, maybe having pop-ups, going to more organizations and having, like meetings and stuff just to get it out, put out flyers, posters, just stuff to let it be known that it's out there so people can see and know, what's going on.
Thanks, Rico. Jasmine.
I feel that people that are providers that actually can provide the injectable PrEP, need to do collaborations, say with the Trans Wellness Center, or even me, Pat, and somebody they bring in somebody and maybe even incentivize it for our consumers, because like I said, a lot of our consumers don't have no cash, no money, nowhere to live. So you give them, say, hey, get this PrEP, take this $25 gift card, be on your way, and we'll see you in a couple of months. You can create some new habits. It's all, it takes time for people to create new habits, right, around anything oftentimes. So to know that this could be so accessible and so available and yet intentional, it could change the whole landscape of how people engage with PrEP as a whole.
I also want to say, I work for Trans Wellness Center. We have a study called PrEP Well, where it pays trans folks to get enrolled into PrEP, and then it monitors them if they get, they come in and they pee, and it shows that they've been taking their medication, as prescribed. Then they get another stipend, and then another stipend. So it's like for initial start, and then a middle, and then a 90-day follow-up. So that's another way, like Jasmine was saying, incentivize this for our community, especially for the trans community. Like I said, the T's always left in the back. Those are the ones that we need to like help out more and be more aware of. So if you have any, patients or clients that are in needing of PrEP, they could always connect with us with PrEP Well.
Yeah, I think that um y'all really offered a lot of good advice for advocacy. Definitely just gonna add that into it. And I think, yeah, like just advocating, if you do have a patient or someone who comes in and it's for, that they've contracted some STI, whether, it's chlamydia, gonorrhea, HIV, just to always offer, oh, like there's PrEP, there's this going on. Because if it wasn't for, Felipe's team and telling me about PrEP, I most likely would have not been on it. And also, the program that I'm in kind of, I pretty much get it for free. So I'm very grateful for that. And again, like I do understand that not every facility is going to have this kind of this medication. So I am very grateful. I've had a lot of opportunities and very fortunate that I've had these opportunities. And I definitely tried to make the most of it.
Thank you
If
very
I
much,
may,
Raul. Yeah, go ahead.
right, grassroots. A lot, at the beginning of the PrEP, and we're still working on it, but at the beginning of the PrEP, advocacy started on the grassroots level. Friend to friend, sex partner to sex partner, right? How can you make it more equitable? You let your sex partners know, hey, there's this PrEP. Tell your friends, are you on PrEP? Have you considered taking PrEP? I don't know, I don't have insurance. Let them know. If you're on a program, tell them about those programs, right? Open the doors for your own friends. Gatekeeping helps no one. Stigma helps no one. We open these doors for each other. That is how PrEP first started coming around and increasing in popularity when it first started. And I say popularity relatively, right? Because God knows we still need more people on PrEP to protect their health, or to, help them take care of their health and enjoy their sex lives as they do, or, survive as they should. But grassroots, tell people, talk to people. If you work in an organization, tell your friends, right? Share this information. That is how we break down these walls and challenges, in my opinion. So thank you for letting me say that.
Not only do I educate my community, but also the partners that have sex with my community, because also those are people who don't know about PrEP, is the men that are sleeping with trans women. I'm like, there's PrEP now. And they're like, what is that? And then I have to educate them too as well too. So it's about educating, people in your whole circle.
Thank you all so much. I know we're right at the end of our time here with our panel discussion, and I just want to say one more time how grateful we are for all of your participation. I think, each of you as panelists shared such wonderful, invaluable insight about your own experiences and your advice to others in the community and community providers. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Raul, thank you as well for your wonderful facilitation and for sharing your own insights as a wonderful navigator in the community as well. So thank you again. We're seeing hearts and claps from our attendees, also appreciating you here. I'm going to go ahead now and turn it over to Dr. Ron Brooks, who's going to share just a little bit of closing remarks with everyone. And thank you all again to our panel.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Great presentations, great suggestions for advocacy. We hope everyone sticks around because, as I mentioned at the beginning, you will have an opportunity today to win one of 3 $50 gift cards. You will also have an additional opportunity if you complete the evaluation to be enrolled in the raffle that we will do on Friday, since people will have time to complete the evaluation. So we want everyone to take a few minutes to complete an evaluation. This is an anonymous evaluation. And so Elena will be putting the link to the evaluation in the chat. So once you submit your evaluation, you'll be directed to another form to enter our raffle for an opportunity to win one of 3 $50 gift cards for completing the evaluation. So please stay on the line with us as you complete your evaluation, and then we will end the session with a few closing remarks and today's raffle for 3 $50 gift cards. In the meantime, Omar will be playing some R&B instrumental music that you can listen to as you complete your evaluation. Thank you. Please let Elena know if you weren't able to get into the evaluation. Okay, Omar, do you want to take us to the next slide, our closing remarks? Okay, thank you everyone for completing the evaluation. If you haven't yet completed it or we're having problems, we will be sending it out, the link in an email to all attendees who haven't had a chance to complete it. You will have until Friday at noon to complete it, to be part of that raffle for completing the evaluation. So I think what we want to do right now is go ahead and take a few minutes. Elena, do you want to go ahead and do the raffle now, or should I do my closing remarks?
Feel free to do your closing remarks, and then we can do the raffle right at the end.
All right, so we'll save the best for last, money. So just a few closing remarks. Thank you for attending this injectable PrEP community workshop. We had amazing panelists, an amazing facilitator, great stories about their experiences with injectable PrEP. We hope that you share those stories with members of your social networking community, because as Raul mentioned, we do need to advocate for greater access to the injectable PrEP. We have one final workshop that we will be doing over the next 4 months as part of this initiative. And we are open to suggestions for the topic for this final workshop. You had an opportunity to enter your suggestions in the evaluation, but if you think of something, you're open to emailing Elena or myself with your suggestions.